Let's have Steve. There we go. Okay, well, hello everyone. Our PLC today, 287th. We do these every 2 weeks, and we like to introduce ourselves so we can get to know each other. And then when we have the all grantee face-to-face, we'll may be able to put the faces to the people and get to know each other. So much of this program has to do with finding out what other people are doing. There's only so much you can take when you have talking heads. So what we like to do is try to have some interaction, have different people suggest what they're doing so we could learn from each other. We usually also structure the face-to-face meeting in the same way, where we're trying to learn from each other. We've kind of using the philosophy that the people who have been there, done that, know some of the tricks of the trade, know what works and what doesn't work. We're going to be moving into the time when we'll be preparing for the next RFA, which will probably not official yet, but likely come out in the June timeframe. Very similar to what happened last year. Of course, these things are always variable, but we're going under the assumption that the RFA will be very similar, 5-year, 500,000, and we're going to be prepping people. We'll be doing two things. One will be talking about all the critical issues that job training grantees face as they run through their program. We'll be exchanging ideas as we are. We'll be having some guest speakers, but we'll also be talking about strategies that might be used in assessment, recruitment, retention, curriculum strategies, placement, sustainability. In fact, today we're going to talk about sustainability. So let's introduce each other now, just so we can. We don't have huge groups, so it's really nice that we can do this. I'm Mike Senyu, the facilitator today. Steve, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Steve Fenton. I'm from Venice, Florida, and I work with Mike and Nolan on the project. Good to see everyone.
Steve is the point man on the all grantee meeting, which he'll be talking about a little later, and that'll be a big thing that's going to be coming up in the next couple of months. Nolan?
Hi, I'm Nolan Curtis. I work with Mike and Steve as a consultant to HMTRI. I'm in Aiken, South Carolina, and I did about 25 plus years as a contractor to the Department of Energy and a nuclear regulator for the state of Washington.
Okay. Abby?
Hi, everyone. I'm Abby. I'm from the Auberly Employment Institute in McKeesport, Pennsylvania, just outside of Pittsburgh.
What's really nice, we'll talk about this later in sustainability, we have all sorts of job training programs. They range from social services programs to flat out .orgs that are doing environmental job training to CDCs. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. So it's nice to see the variety of programs. Mac?
Hello, everyone. I'm Matt Galabed. I'm from Southwest Economic Solutions here in Detroit, Michigan, and we currently have an EPA grant, DBA.
Great. Fred, who is our guest speaker today?
Hello, everyone. My name is Fred Lucero, and I work for the city of Richmond here in Richmond, California.
Okay. Cindy, how are you?
Good. I'm Cindy Manning, and I'm with Coalfield Development in West Virginia.
And when we talk about different types of agencies, they're a community development social enterprise, and they're doing all sorts of things. We'll hear about that at some point. They had a grant for a while, and then they put on hold, and then they're re-upping. So congratulations on your new grant.
Thank you.
Nancy from the regional office 3.
Hi, I'm Nancy Shannon. I'm a new Brownfields project officer from EPA Region 3. I've actually just communicated with Cindy yesterday on Coalfield, and I've had some interaction and met Abby recently. So getting to know some of the Region 3 job training grantees.
Get to know them, put their faces to their names, and you've got some great grantees in your region. Erwin.
that Aaron, Mike?
Aaron, maybe that's right. I didn't mispronounce it. Aaron
No
Mendez.
worries.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Hi, my name's Erin Fernandez. I work at Groundwork Denver. I'm the Green Pathways Project Manager, so supporting youth leadership development and young adult green workforce development.
Great. Another different model that we'll be talking about. Paula Grady.
Let's see here. Hello, everyone. Hi, hope everybody's doing well. I am Paula Grady, Program Manager for OEI Incorporated in Chicago, Illinois.
Fantastic. Another exemplary program, which we had a few PLCs ago. Great. Lois Ellis. There she is. You want to put your speaker on, Lois? There's a little button there. There
Okay.
we go.
All righty. Hi, everybody.
Tell us a little bit about where you're from.
Canton, Ohio. Been on for a while, just learning the process of the brownfields, the PC, the PLC, and the all the things you guys are doing. And Cindy, I am from Logan, West Virginia. So Country Roads, welcome aboard.
There we go. That's where we like to hear from people that are learning about the program.
All right. Thank
Jessica Guzman.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Guzman from Puerto Rico and from Pastor Corporation. We work in the east side of Puerto Rico. I'm a regional administrator in these areas.
Very good. Paul.
Paul Salmons, Recycle Force, social, employment social enterprise out of Indianapolis, reentry program.
On his way to his new building, I bet. Oh, okay. Just drive carefully if you're driving, or pull over. How about Kim Kelly?
Hi, I am with the Sustainable Workplace Alliance. We're a new grantee that received the job training grant, so I'm here to learn from you all.
And you've got some great experience too, so to contribute from what you've done with NIHS. And we've got Gianna from the regional office. How are you?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Gianna Rosati. I work for EPA Region 3 and I'm based in Philly. You know, Nancy's on, and I think I saw Randy Pearsall as well from our office.
Right. And you've got some of your grantees here today.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks, Mike.
And Ed Kelly.
Hello, everybody. Ed Kelly with NIE Communities Coalition in Pahrump, Nevada. And we are a job training grantee as well. And so just wanting to learn all the time.
And he's rural, they're rural, they're tribal. They've got
very, very rural.
Very rural, very tribal, not a lot of employers, a lot of challenges, but you've got, you're working hard at it, and we like to hear from you. That's good. Shante Vincent.
Yes, I am here. Good afternoon, everyone. Shante Vincent, Weston Neighborhood House Employment Specialist, EPA Coordinator.
Great, thank you. Well, thanks everybody for introducing yourselves. Again, I'd like to see everyone's face and see what they're doing. And sometimes we have new faces, and welcome everyone to the program. We'll be sending out session notes later. We're doing it a little differently. We'll probably be sending them out on Monday rather than Friday. We're going to polish them up a little bit more before they get sent out. We send them out in an email and then as a PDF that's attached to the email. And they usually have a lot of the links that you might be interested in that we talk about during the day. So with that, I'll turn it over to Steve with some announcements and some new announcements. Steve.
Okay, thanks, Mike. And again, it's good to see everyone today. The first thing involved the 2023 in-person annual all grantee meeting, which will be held the 24th and 25th in Alexandria, Virginia. And I think I mentioned last time, the last PLC, that we do have a host hotel, and that hotel is the Hilton Alexandria Old Town. And we have a contract signed. We have registration information prepared to go out. And we also have a registration form for the conference that you'll be getting along with these notes that will be coming to you sometime in the next, I guess, next week or so. So the registration process, there's basically two things. Again, registering for the conference, and we will have a link in the notes so you can do that. And also with the hotel, it's kind of a two-step process, or you can either register online by clicking the booking link that we're going to provide, or you can call in to the Alexandria, or even and go through the national 1-800 Hilton phone number as well. And the group code is HMTRI. And that information again will be in the notes. And we're working at finalizing an agenda. And as soon as we get the agenda finalized, we'll be sending that out to everyone in an email as well. So also be prepared when you register. If you register at hotel, again, the group code is HMTRI. Make sure you have a credit card available, because they'll want to run that for incidentals and anything else that you're going to want to pay for while you're there. So they'll ask for that. What's not covered is the transportation there and transfers and incidentals. HMTRI covers the 3 nights of lodging. We'll also be providing 2 continental breakfasts on the morning of the meeting, and also 2 working lunches. So that's what HMTRI will be paying. Now, also, we're going to limit the registrations to 2 per organization. We've got 80 rooms booked for each of the 3 nights, so 240 basic rooms, so 80 per night. So again, we're limiting registration to 2 per organization. So that's only for the cost. I mean, if you have a 3rd person that wants to come, they're welcome to register and come. We'll only be able to pay for the hotels and stuff for 2 people. Also, the Brownfield National Conference, again, that's another date to have in mind, August 8th through the 11th in Detroit, Michigan. There's nothing on their website yet about hotel. I do know it's going to be at the Huntington Place Conference Center in downtown Detroit. So as we get more information about that, we'll also pass that around. Again, that's August 8th through the 11th. Believe it or not, it will be here before we know it. This year is already moving along. And in conjunction with Brownfield's 2023, the 2023 Phoenix Award nominations are open, and the nominations are due by April 17th. This year's awards will once again celebrate exemplary projects in Brownfield's redevelopment from across the country and recognize the people that make them happen. So if you know of anyone you want to nominate, I mean, you can even nominate yourself or have somebody nominate you too, because they do acknowledge job training grantees. Also, I'm not sure if you're interested or not about exhibiting at the conference, but that information is up. We'll have a link in these notes that if you would want to exhibit, the information will be right there. HMTRI will be exhibiting. We will be there at the conference as well. So if you have any questions about it, let us know. And again, more information that we get, we'll pass it along. Also, I want to mention again, the Greatest Institute is taking place May 8th through the 19th in Bettendorf, Iowa. If you're not familiar with that area, it's along the banks of the Mississippi and part of an area known as the Quad Cities. And It's being hosted by Eastern Iowa Community College District, which we are affiliated with as well. And the organization that's putting this on is called PEAT, the Partnership for Environmental Technology Education. And this is a 2-week train the trainer. And if you don't have a trainer, or you're going to be losing a trainer, or you would like to do in-house training, this is a really good opportunity. Over the 2 weeks, they're going to go over the 40-hour waste site worker health and safety, the 24-hour industrial emergency response, DOT hazmat awareness, confined space, hazard awareness and communication, and disaster site worker awareness. It's a fantastic opportunity because you get all of the curriculum that's provided, as well as all the PowerPoint presentations, and it costs virtually nothing. This program is supported with grant funding from the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, 20 scholarships covering travel, tuition, lodging, per diem, basically everything is provided by the National Partnership for Environmental Technology Education. And electronic applications are being accepted, and the closing date for those is February 28th. So if you're interested in that, please take a look at it. And if you have any questions about it, all of us, Mike and Nolan and I, all are very familiar with this organization. In fact, we have, I think, at last count, I think 4 or 5 of our brownfield grantees have had people attend this training. So, we're really appreciative that they think of us and always let us know about the opportunities.
Steve, there was a question about links to these events, and I just responded in the notes that we will be sending out the PLC post-session notes. We send them out as a PDF. They'll go out on Monday, and they have all the hot links that will cover every one of these things that we're mentioning today. As a sidebar to that, if for some reason, and occasionally, maybe because of your browser, our browser, or some security event you have, if you're not getting the notes, send me your contact information. It's msenu@gmail.com. And if you don't, whenever you don't get them or you request them, you could, if you get notes, you could always respond to the notes with questions you might have, or if you're not getting them. We have quite a few on the PLC list that do get notes, but we have quite a few for one reason or another. The email doesn't go through, or someone may have switched jobs or whatever. So again, if you're not getting notes, just drop me a line, msenu at gmail.com, and we'll make sure that you're on that list. Sorry, Steve, I just wanted to respond to that question.
No, that's good. Thanks for the question, Mac. We'll make sure that you do get all the links that are provided here. Just a couple other questions that came up. One was after the FY23 funding awards were announced, what was the schedule for receiving and responding to EPA grant packages? And the response, I guess, after applicants have been recommended for funding, EPA has until September 30th, which is the end of the fiscal year, to finalize grant awards. It was a kind of a pleasant surprise for us that this year's recommendations were made early, giving the grants office plenty of time to process grants packages. So some of you, I think, have already maybe received some of those. Another question, how long will it take after submitting the grant package until we have our authorization to spend funds? Excuse me. Plan on 2 to 3 months for the grants office to process your grant and authorize your ability to spend funds. As noted in the last PLC, if your authority to spend funds is not processed before the May 24th all grantee meeting, you may want to contact your regional coordinator to process paperwork allowing you to spend funds up to 90 days before the final grant authorization. Also, another question, I understand that HM2I will cover hotel costs for the all grantee meeting in May. How do we budget for the meeting? In response, basically, while the meeting and working breakfast and lunch are provided, participants are expected to cover other incidentals and travel and the transfer fees, as I mentioned earlier. And then the last question, what about travel, hotel meals, and registration fees associated with attending the National Brownfields Conference in Detroit in August? Hopefully grantees have included attending the annual all grantee meeting and national conference in their proposal and travel budget. If you have not sufficiently budgeted for both events, EPA suggests you contact your regional coordinator who can work with you to reprogram those travel expenses. Well, those are just a few of the questions that have come up. So Mike, I guess back to you.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks, Steve. We like to have intermittently talk about critical issues for improving your program and also how to respond to the next RFA when it comes up, give you some news. But we also acknowledge that the people most knowledgeable about running these programs are you, people who have operated them for a while. And our guests today, they have a super program. They were actually one of our oldest programs. They were one of the pilots back in 1998, job training pilot when this program started. But they were on hold till about 2009. And Richmond Build has had 8 re-ups. In other words, they've had a renewed grant in a competitive environment every year since 2009, and they just received a grant in 2023. And it hasn't always been smooth sailing, but they know, one, how to set up a program. They know how to write a good grant. I understand they just got hit with some news that their terminal, because the port of Richmond was canceled, their 14-acre redevelopment that had a lot of job training opportunities, but they've been there, done that, and handled it before. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Fred, one of our favorite grantees. Fred, do you want to take it from there?
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Fred Lucero, and I manage Richmond Build and Richmond Youth Build. I manage 2 programs. And the background on Richmond Build is 2006 was probably one of the most violent summers in Richmond. There were 42 homicides in the span of 3 months, and we needed something to remedy the violence, and we thought about going after job training grants. We were awarded our first grant in 2007. Our first class was April 23rd, 2007. And then a couple of years later, we applied for the Brownfields Training Grant, EPA. And we've been very fortunate to be refunded. But our primary background is job training, violence reduction program for the citizens of this town and for the area. We have case managers, we wrap around case services for students. We help job placements, we help them with, and we're funded from different other funding streams. And so we use different funding streams for different things. And so we provide a lot of services to help get our folks that are coming to the program back on their feet and pointed in the right direction. And one of the things that I believe sincerely is that nothing stops a bullet like a career. And so when students from our program go to work and get back into the swing of life, they lead very productive lives. Our target community is primarily the reentry population, women in non-traditional roles, at-risk youth, people in career changes, people that may be precariously housed or homeless. We work with our local rescue mission, juvenile hall. We attend various PAC meetings for parolees and stuff. So we really try to get those individuals that have been marginalized, looking for a second chance, into our program. And again, pointed in the right direction. As I mentioned earlier, we are a violence reduction program. That's been our primary focus since day one. And so that's, we have direct entry with a lot of the trades. I call them the big 5. carpenters, laborers, ironworkers, plumbers, and steam fitters, and heat and frost. And a lot of those trades, the big five, actually need people with House WAPR 40 certifications, and as well as other green safety certifications like confined spaces or traffic control, which all kind of all come into play because it helps our job placements at the end of when the students are done here. Our curriculum is obviously, we do have the House WAPR 40 training services. We use the carpenters training curriculum for the majority of our program that they give us direct entry. We also work with green employers, companies that work with environmental remediation job sites. And one of the biggest things that we did here in the city, there was a program called the Solar One Project, which was spearheaded by Marin Clean Energy. Marin Clean Energy asked that we do local hires of 50% Richmond residents, and that Richmond Build would be the primary recruiting candidate pool for our students. Actually, we've that job went very well. It was 78,000 solar panels on 60 acres of land. That was a Brownsfield site, former Brownsfield site. Well, it is a Brownsfield site, but it was given to MCE by Chevron as part of their modernization project. And we've turned that, just kind of an eyesore, into beautiful site of harnessing the sun's energy and taking off the road 3,000 cars. I think it's monthly or daily or something like that. 3,000 homes are powered. 50 students from Richmond Build went to work, connecting solar panels and just doing all kinds of great things. So our relationship with our employers, with the unions, that's kind of been a very good strategy that we've been able to kind of cultivate over the years, in that it takes a long time to build these relationships up. But once they've been established, they know who to turn to when it comes to hiring needs for remediation jobs, solar jobs, construction jobs. All of that EPA training has more than just one avenue for our graduates to use those certificates in. Our recruitment and our screening process, we use a lot of social media. We have a Facebook page, an Instagram page. We also have been around long enough where it's word of mouth. So we have brothers and sisters coming through the program. We've had fathers and sons. We've had mothers and sons, mothers and daughters, friends of a friend. We've had international students who moved to Richmond from other countries come here. The actual process to get in the program is kind of tough. We all know that solar jobs, green jobs, construction jobs, they're not easy. And so we want to make sure that we have the right person in place for that career. And one of the things that we do is we do an orientation. We also do a math test, a TABE test. We also do a physical agility test. We want to make sure that the folks that come through our program can handle the work coming at them. So we put them in confined spaces. We have them climb ladders. We have them lift wood. We have them lift solar panels. We have them move cinder blocks. We want to make sure that before they start class, that they know what's coming at them. And our leverage services, we are a city-funded program, but we do not use city dollars for our training program. We leverage our funds through different grants, through the building that we have. We just do a lot of different things to keep the program going. And one of the good things about doing this for a long time is we've kind of built a good reputation up over the years, but it still doesn't mean that we can rest on our laurels. We're always looking at ways to improve the program, to help students get ahead in life, and then that kind of transcends into the community. My advice to new grantees, if you're awarded, is to just make sure that your quarterly reports are turned in on time, that your drawdowns are adequate, and that they you don't fall behind in them. That establish good relationships with city council, neighborhood organizations, employers, the trades, because it all really just helps the students that complete our programs at the very end. That's super important because that's who we serve at the end of the day. And a big shout out to my EPA handler, Nova Blage, who's just been tremendous over the years, helping our program, guidance and direction. Just a huge, huge shout out to her, and thank her for all her guidance over the years. So, but it hasn't been easy. Mentioned earlier that the Terminal 1 project has been canceled. I don't know what's going to happen to it, but one of the things that I'm tasked with is job placements. And so Richmond is not a big city. We don't have a lot of hospitals going up. We don't have tunnels being bored, none of that stuff. So I really have to be creative and find work or opportunities for work outside the city. And that's where some employers like IQ Environmental come into play, Clean Harbors, because they are hiring. It's just that those jobs are not here in the city. A lot of the trades that we work with, same thing. A lot of those projects are across the bay in the city, South Bay. So we just want to make sure that the individuals, when they come in here, they'll have the opportunity to succeed when they leave here. So that's kind of what we do in a nutshell.
Fred, you've got an incredibly deep program and mature. It's fantastic. I've got a question that pops up for all grantees across the country, and it's different. We talked about Fit to Serve. Nolan addressed that last week. How do you handle drug testing, or do you handle it, or both on the recruitment and throughout the program, or do you leave it up to the employer?
It's kind of a mixed bag of different solutions that we use. A long time ago, we did test, and we found students were masking their urine. So in one of our we have soft skills every week, and one of the things that we talk about is drug use. And because we've been around for so long, we've had graduates come back and really just lay it out there and say, look, if you want to go into this industry, you want to go into this, then you're going to have to like not smoke weed or do drugs. For the Solo One project, the company we worked with tested everybody. We did all the interviewing and hiring on site at Richmond Build, and they tested everybody. Most everyone got in, and then some didn't. But it's really a judgment call. And that's one of the things that we put at their feet. It's like, if you really want this, then the responsibility is going to be on you, not us. We could test you every day. You can mask it. You can lie to us. But if you're only lying to yourself at the end, if you say you go to work and you're working 4 or 5 years and you've accumulated some things and your life is good and you test dirty, and then then you lose it all, right? So we really have to be very honest and transparent about the outcomes of testing dirty and what happens. And we're not even talking about hurting themselves or hurting somebody else, because that can happen too if you go to work under the influence of alcohol or drugs.
Interesting, because you're in one of those localities where it's as liberal as any place in the country, and it sounds like the way you're approaching it is through awareness and education.
Yeah, self-awareness. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We get asked the same thing too about, well, it's legal, but yeah, but it is, but it's not at a federal level. And again, it's an employer's call. It's not a judgment. I think that's one of the things that when you tell them that they have to come clean, they think it's a judgment. And it's not so much a judgment call, it's an employer call. The employers want you clean and sober, and if you're going to come to work high or drunk, that's not good. You can hurt somebody, you can hurt yourself. So.
Yeah. Are you able to provide some rehab services for people who come in and they're pretty good, but they say, I need to get off these drugs? Can you help
We
me?
typically stop them at the very beginning.
Mhm.
If they're in recovery, we encourage that as well. We encourage them to continue to go to meetings and stuff like that. But if they're looking for a rehab, we'll point them in in a different direction and have them come back once they put some time under their belt. So some sobriety, I should say.
Any questions? I wonder, did you, again, starting out, because we're going to talk about sustainability, and one of those things is you're linking up with larger programs. Did you start out with Youth Build, or did you just start out basically with construction because there were lots of jobs, a way of getting people trained and off the streets, and then you could add the environmental component onto that? Did you have a Youth Build program to begin with, or?
Not when Richmond Build started.
Mhm.
We had a Youth Build program. It didn't do very well. It ended. We didn't get refunded because we are grant funded, so we're always going after grants. Then and it was funny that it's like we got funded for a Youth Build grant. We didn't think we were going to get it because we've been denied so many times before. We actually even stopped reapplying. And then COVID hit. So in 2019, we found out we were going to get funded for Youth Build, and then COVID hit. So we've been kind of moving and trying to meet our numbers during a pandemic. We did, but it was really challenging. So yeah.
You actually may be in a better situation in that you're counting on a lot of different funding streams that are not necessarily all tied to Department of Labor grants that may come and go. So
absolutely, yeah.
Fantastic.
You have to.
Any questions of Fred? He really leads into a topic I'd like to talk about. And thanks, Fred. You've got a fantastic program, and the fact that you've been re-upped 8 times, it's no coincidence. You're in a difficult community, and you've got a lot of depth. You really do. And congratulations on your 23 re-up. I'd like to talk a little bit about sustainability. We talked about it a little last time, and if anyone has questions or they occur to them to ask Fred, feel free. This last round of RFAs, we had 29. Congratulations to 29 5-year grantees. But that meant that there were some that were left behind, and we talked about it last week or last PLC. Reasons they may have been left behind. There are about 8 grantees in the 3rd year of their grant, which means they're coming to the end, and 14 were funded in 1921 or FY21. So there are about 22 grantees who are starting or thinking about sunsetting, and this goes along with Fred's presentation of what do you do when you've worked so hard to build a program and then you see the end of the tunnel coming? How do you handle that? And fortunately, that if you've started a program and you've been working at it for a couple of years, you're starting to branch out your partnerships. And this is something that you can't take for granted. You have to build those partnerships up, and you have to look at additional funding streams. And those funding streams are going to be different for each type of organization. And I commented on it earlier, we've got the beauty to this program, we have lots of different organizational structures. We've got community colleges like Santa Fe Community College, social service organizations that are perhaps more philanthropic like Fortune Society or Auberly. We've got community development organizations, which are quasi-governmental. They're all different. We've got WIBs that are applying and receiving BJT. We've got flat out nonprofits, which were organized to do environmental job training. And they may link up to a WIB, or they may be a sub-partner to the county or to the state. and the county or the WIB may get the grant, and then they partner, something like Tacoma might do in terms of subcontracting out to a nonprofit. We've got social enterprises like Recycle Force, which are actually have two roles, where they're at coalfields, where you've got two roles. You're training people for environmental jobs, but for sustainability purposes, you're also doing enterprise. And what Paul's doing in Indianapolis is a perfect example of supporting your organization on the .com side and using your .org side to train people and to place them, and being able to exchange between the two. So we've got a lot of different types of organizations. We've got the very large nonprofits like OAI that have many different things going. They may be doing grants with hospitals. They may be doing something in bioremediation. They may be doing things with other governmental agencies like NIHS. And then we've got some that were even started by consulting firms. Like you take Zender or Limitless Vistas, who were doing, initially they were doing environmental remediation, and they needed people that were well-trained to provide the services that they use in their consulting firms. And they were able to dovetail off of the BJT, the job training program. So what I'm saying is we've got a lot of different types of organizations, and each type of organization that you have may influence how you want to beef up your organizations as you go. And whether ideally you don't want to be reliant on this one grant that may last 3 years or maybe 5 years. And when it ends, everything that you've built up and your reputation and your partnerships have to go away because you can't support it. So the question is, how do you do that? And it's what Fred said. It's basically constantly looking for what grants might be available, what opportunities are there. And those grants aren't necessarily just on the federal level. They offer on the state and local level. In fact, those can be some of the best grants. Those people who are fortunate enough to get into the appropriations process, as for example, Jobs for Youth may have done a long time ago, or New Jersey Youth Corps, they get into the appropriations process, and it becomes built in where they're in the annual budget. And when you talk about sustainability, that's the ultimate in sustainability. So you want to look after what funds are available in your area. Sometimes there's funds from HUD or DOL. These are federal programs, but by definition, they have a beginning, they have a period of operation, and then they end. Ideally, if you could move into these other streams of funding that are more local, that rely on you for a service, LA Conservation Corps, for example, that is working with the county in terms of cleanups in the county, to the extent you can maneuver. And so the trick here is to open your eyes when you get one of these grants and see what related funding might be available, whether it's on a local level, whether it's philanthropic funding, whether it's a religious organization, who is willing to support what you're doing for the good of their goals. And those goals may not be environmental job training, it might be reentry. They might be very interested in reentry. Well, they may not really care so much about environmental, but environmental is a venue to get them returning citizens back into society with sustainable jobs. So what you need to do is look at those organizations and say, are there reentry funds available? What can I do? Are there women's organizations that are philanthropic, that are supporting women or women reentry? getting back into the workforce, or homeless. Are there organizations that are geared towards homeless? So what we're doing is we're saying, open your eyes and just don't worry so much about environmental from a sustainability point of view, but look at the job training and bringing people back into the workforce and how you can use environmental as a vehicle. And of course, you're adding it on to existing programs. In those cases, you may have a much bigger organizations that doing different types of social services, and you're adding environmental training onto it, as many of you are. There are also other things you can do if you find yourself in that third year and you're in a crunch and you reapply and maybe you have to sit out a year. We've had many grantees who have sat out a year, and many have been rescued by the state, where St. Nick's, for example, got a local job training program planning grant, and they were able to keep their team together. You want to keep your advisory board together. You want to keep your partners together, because you could use them when you're seeking these other types of funding. You may find yourself also in the dire case of having to continue your environmental program at all costs if you can. You may have to reduce your offerings. Maybe you're just offering HAZWOPER. You may have to go to HAZWOPER for a fee. And you may have to go to non-credit or training to business and industry, charging a fee. What I'm saying is, if you find yourself in dire straits and your program is exhausted, don't just close the doors. Think about possibility of going to industries and training the critical components: HAZWOPER, lead, asbestos, confined space, OSHA 10, for fees. Some of our programs, you may want to offer refresher training for a fee. In other words, for graduates who have stayed in the business, you can offer those for a fee. Essentially turning your .org into a semi.com to keep the program going, and then reapplying. The beautiful thing about the job training program is it is an annual program, and before we know it, we'll be coming back for another RFA, and we'll be going through the grant that is going to take a while to write, and you have to be prepared and get your ducks in a line. So as far as sustainability goes, there's a lot of avenues, and what we're saying here is you've worked really hard to get your program going, and there's a certain amount of momentum you start to build up when your program is going. Keep your eyes open, as Fred says, and like many other of our programs that have been here a long time, the EPA money is frosting on the cake. It gives you a grant for a period of time to provide these environmental education courses, but branch out and see what you could do to enhance your sustainability by going to these other programs. In some cases, you may have to merge. You may find that you can link with a community college. If you're a small organization, particularly the tribal organizations, you may find that if you could link up with a community college and work with their non-credit people, you could get started. And you may be doing some pilot work. You may be starting, for those of you who are fairly new, you may be starting with just offering HAZWOPER courses for a fee with a non-credit in a community college. And then it gives you a base to start building your advisory board and start gathering your supporters and giving you an idea of what your program might look like so that you could apply for the RFA. You may find a social service organization in your community that you may not feel that you're ready to take this whole program on yourself, but you could link to them. And as we say, it's a lot easier to add one more car onto a moving train than it is to build a whole train. So to the extent that you can you could build your program from there. You'll be way ahead of everyone else. And you could take it slow. If you don't get it this year, there's always next year, and you could reapply for it. So I think from that sustainability point of view, we like to look at the long term, not the short term. We don't like to just look at this one BJT grant, but rather a system of grants that includes BJT as part of this ecosystem that may include, depending on what kind of program, social services, it may include carpentry, it may include some sort of jobs for youth, it may include a reentry program that will carry you on for many years, whether or not you get to the EPA program. So any questions on that? Fred, you guys have done a great job, and I think you're always have your eyes open for what's the next grant, right?
Yes, we do. And I appreciate this opportunity and being able to share our experience with everyone, because I think, it does take a village. It really does. That's a corny saying that's been said way too many times in the past by various politicians, but it really does, at least where I'm at, it takes a village. So, and the EPA is huge. They're a huge part of that. So
they have built you have built an ecosystem basically, and that it's a great way to do this.
Thank you.
Nolan was going to talk about some awareness of some things that aren't necessarily environmental job training programs. Do we want to do that today, or do we want to save it till next week, Nolan? Or till
I think we should go today. I think it builds on what you were just talking about. So
okay,
I think we're ready to go. So,
okay.
So again, building on what Mike was saying and what many of you are already doing in your programs, the idea is that there's funding opportunities that may not be direct to your organization or program, but you can bring forward with some of your community partners, either current or ones you desire to partner with on a community or regional level. And it can be a great advantage, especially because some of that money then will splash over and enhance your program. So these are just funding awareness. These are opportunities that are coming up. So one is the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and it's their Office of Lead Hazard Control and Healthy Homes. They have an application package which is due March 14th of this year, 23. And the HUD's office made available $403 million for lead hazard reduction grant programs. And the grants are for evaluating and mitigating threats from lead-based paint hazards in privately owned pre-1978 housing that is not receiving federal assistance. Additional housing-related health and safety hazards in those homes, outreach, training, and related work are eligible activities. So the funds are for states and Native American tribes that have EPA authorized lead abatement certification programs. EPA's lead abatement program regulations provide a framework for lead abatement, risk assessment, and inspections. And those performing these services are required to be trained and certified by EPA or an authorized state. And the states may, upon approval, receive authorization to carry out their own programs in lieu of the federal programs. So there is a list of EPA authorized lead abatement certification programs, and we'll post that in the notes. It's the list for cities, counties, and parishes, so you can find out if you are already in a zone that's able to participate. And there's also a website to download the application package for the lead hazard reduction grant program. So we'll make sure that we post those in the notes. So you should have those by Monday. The completed application package, as I said, is due through grants.gov by March 14th. So it's pretty short fuse. And the office held 2 comprehensive question and answer sessions on the grant program. And we'll give you the website for those recorded sessions. And so again, you can catch up to speed on those if you think you might be interested or have partners that are interested. there's been a dramatic increase in the EPA's Environmental Justice Initiative, we call EJ funding, as part of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill, or BIL. And the bill grantees need to be aware of EJ programs that will be coming to your communities. So one of them is the Environmental Justice Collaborative Problem Solving, EJ CPS Cooperative Agreement Program. And these applications are due by April 10 of 2023. The program provides financial assistance to eligible organizations working to address local environmental or public health issues in your communities. The program assists recipients in building collaborative partnerships with other stakeholders. That would be local businesses and industry, local government, medical service providers, academia. And that's to develop solutions to environmental or public health issues at the community level. So this Environmental Justice Collaborative Problem Solving, or EJCPS Cooperative Agreement Program, provides financial assistance to eligible organizations working to address local environmental or public health issues in your communities. And so in helping to build those collaborative partnerships, you could be looking at local government, local business, medical service providers. The program requires selected applicants or recipients to use EPA's Environmental Justice Collaborative Problem Solving model. So many of you are familiar with this model. Again, in the notes, we'll put a attachment to that model to address local environmental or public health issues in a collaborative manner with various stakeholders. And so the case studies listed in the resource section highlight some of the successful strategies of the previous projects. And so you can apply for the opportunity and view the RFA on grants.gov. And again, those are application packages that should be submitted on or before April 10, and the applicant should plan for projects to begin October 1st. So again, these are all fast-tracked with large resources behind them. EPA seeks input on Inflation Reduction Act environmental and climate justice programs. And the deadline for this is March 17th. And they've issued a request for information seeking input on its environmental and climate justice program funded by the President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act. And the program provides EPA with approximately $3 billion for ECJ program grants and technical assistance for environmental and climate justice efforts that benefit overburdened communities. So these ECJ, or environmental climate justice programs, include but aren't limited to program design, types of projects to fund, reducing application barriers, reporting and oversight, and technical assistance. And so this request for information allows EPA to hear from the communities and their partners on how grant programs can work better for the communities that need this support the most. So essentially they're looking for help. They have a lot of money. They're trying to get it out through the pipeline to people like you, and they need your input on what it is maybe they need to do different, better, or more of in order to make that happen. And so we will also give you connects to the websites to get more information on the Inflation Reduction Act and to learn more about environmental justice at EPA. There's also increased funding for Superfund cleanups, and the bipartisan law allocated $3.5 billion towards Superfund cleanup. And so EPA on Friday announced an additional $1 billion in funds from the BIL, that's the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, to be used for cleanup efforts at 22 Superfund sites. So some of you may have programs or initiatives that are at or adjacent to Superfund sites. And the law was written to address environmental justice issues. This is the second $1 billion round of funding following an initial wave in December 2021. The funding round includes sites in Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Massachusetts, Missouri, North Carolina, New Jersey, Nevada, New York, Pennsylvania, Puerto Rico, Virginia, and Vermont. EPA plans on using BIL funds to speed up 100 and begin cleanup of Superfund projects across the U.S. At the time of the first round of funding, 49 unfunded sites existed across 17 states. So having worked at several of the Superfund sites in the past, it was very difficult to get EPA or other funding because there was such a large sort of shine, we call it, from the federal funding usually coming out of Department of Energy or Department of Defense or other agencies to clean these up. So that's changed because there are a lot of sites that need cleanup that aren't part of the Superfund, but are located at or adjacent to the Superfund sites. So this does represent a new opportunity, again, if you have communities that are near or affected by those. So we'll, again, make sure that we have all of the different websites and URLs and things in the notes, and you should expect to get those Monday. That's it.
From this bulge in appropriations, or at least in authorizations, came about starting in 2021. We had the COVID Relief Act was beginning of a lot of money going out to states to start helping. It was discretionary money they could use for a variety of reasons, but when it went to the bipartisan infrastructure law, we call it bill, that was the one that really propelled EPA and job training. BIL is all about infrastructure, and it's huge, and it really has lots of money going to a lot of places, and that money has to be spent, or at least out the door, by 2026. So we have this huge bill, and then we have on top of that the Inflation Reduction Act, which has to do with climate change. So we have these, in the federal government, we have these huge bills. You won't hear a lot about this in a job training environment as we're talking about now, but I think it's something that you probably need to be aware of this huge amount of money that's coming out. And the Office of Environmental Justice in Washington is setting up, and I've talked about it before, we're just seeing this huge infrastructure being built that's going to flow down to the states. And then once it gets down to the states, there's going to be another $3 billion that will go to communities. And these will be one-pagers, they'll be easy, and they'll have to do with environmental justice. And when we talk about sustainability and expanding your scope, we just want you to be aware that when you hear about bill money or IRA money, Inflation Reduction Act, and that there's environmental justice money, ask the question, how can we get involved? And there are things we are doing that, while they're not exactly environmental justice, they are synergistic to environmental justice. It's a Venn diagram that overlaps. You are training in designated areas that are designated as environmental justice areas. You're addressing environmental justice issues. You're resolving mitigating environmental justice problems. So there's a lot of overlap. We're not sure how these RFAs are going to look. Many of them will have the word training in there, or it may have reentry in there. And so whenever you see something coming down the stream, put it on your radar and see if you can get involved in it some way, because there will be lots of money and lots of rewards in that area. And just wanted to keep everyone informed about it so that you'll be aware when if you do come across anything with those words in it. Does anyone have any questions or issues or anything they'd like to bring up today? Okay. Well, our next PLC will be March 1st, same time, same place, same link. As I said, if you're not getting PLC notes, just send me your contact information. I'll put you back on the list. I hopefully will not be blocked by security on your internet system, but we try to get those out. But occasionally we'll get returns on them, so they may or may not kick you off occasionally. Anything else anyone would like to talk about? Okay, Steve. Steve, I think you could end this meeting.